Becky and Two at the Jasper County Conservation Department, and today our prairie is getting a prescribed burn. Fire is a very important tool that we use to maintain the health of our tallgrass prairie areas. And historically in Iowa, when most of our state was covered by tallgrass prairie, fire was a natural occurrence. And one way fires might have been started would be a thunderstorm. Maybe a strike of lightning would strike the dry grasses and catch them on fire and kind of slowly start a burn going. Now, we've had that happen once in one of our county areas in the time that I've worked here, and it was quickly put out by rain falling, which was a good thing for us. So fires could have started naturally that way, but maybe more by the people that lived in this area. If you can imagine a Native American family or a group of let's say Sioux Indians that lived out in the prairie, they would have had their fire to cook their food and keep warm, and if that fire would have escaped at all, it could have set off a huge wildfire, depending on if the conditions were just right. People also used fire to manage the area as well. Now, after a prairie fire, the ground is charred and blackened, and the sun warms up the ground and the new little shoots of prairie grass start to come up. And that is what a lot of the big herbivores like to eat, like the bison. And so bison would have moved into an area shortly after it was burned, and they would have been eating those new grasses. Of course, those Native Americans would have been hunting bison for a lot of the things that they needed to survive, so they could control and manage where those animals were. They also really controlled other tribes and the movement of other groups. To stay safe, you could maybe start a fire and burn off an area to keep a warring neighbor away or something like that. So a fire was set off for many different reasons. Now, the reason the prairie does so well with this is because this time of year, now that the snow's melted and it's warmed up and we've had some wind blowing through here, we have all this dry grass and it falls over and builds up a layer of what we call duff. And basically we're just burning off that dry layer on top. Most of a prairie plant is actually located under the ground in the root system, and some prairie plants have roots that go 10, 12 feet deep into the ground. So we're merely clearing off the dead stuff that's at the surface. Trees and other woody vegetation do a really great job of seed dispersal and spreading all over the place. And we might have trees that take over an area like this, but when you think about trees, most of that plant is above ground, the trunk and all the branches and leaves. So when a fire hits a tree or other woody vegetation like that, it can cause a lot of damage. So in a sense, we are killing off a lot of trees and things we don't want in our prairie, but helping the grass continue to grow. Might be wondering, when we burn a big area like this, what happens to the animals that live out here? Well, prairie animals are specifically adapted to this type of environment, and because fire would have happened naturally for thousands of years, they wild animals do know how to respond to that. They either can run really fast, and we'll see maybe animals jump up and come running out of the prairie. A lot of deer do that, rabbits and other smaller mammals. We'll see a lot of animals flying out around the area, so we flush out pheasants and some other birds like that. And of course, it's early enough this time of year, the birds aren't nesting in the prairie. A lot of our grassland nesters do nest a little bit later on in the year, so we don't have to worry about that yet. Also, animals have adapted to go down underground. So think of little ground squirrels and insects, and a lot of smaller creatures might have a tunnel or a hole that they can quickly just slip underground. And this fire moves quick enough over the surface of the ground that it does not get hot below this layer of dust. So an animal does not have to go very deep to be able to stay safe in the soil. And so it's pretty amazing while you're out here to see some of those interactions and those things going on. Now later, the other thing that might be fun to look for are hawks, maybe birds of prey that circle overhead, and they're trying to find those little mice and snakes and rabbits and things that are trying to run or slither out of the prairie. So they of course take advantage of an easy meal as well. So we're going to keep our eye out for that while we're out here working today. Planning the prairie fire, the wind direction, wind speed. We are working along a mowed path here, a fire break, and the guys are lighting a fire. We call it the backfire. It's going to burn slowly into the wind, and then we work our way around the trail and the path to light the head fire, and that goes quickly and kind of burns through the middle and kind of finishes off so that all the edges are secure and we don't have the fire escape from us and become a problem. So we're just working around in smaller sections, working with the wind as we go.